Hi guys! This video is about plyometric exercises and how you can actually use them as part of your Achilles rehab to get your tendon to fully recover. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Maryke. I'm one of the physiotherapists from treatmyachilles.com, where you can get online physiotherapy assessment as well as treatment for your Achilles injuries. Have a look at the description of this video if you want a link to our website. Okay, so plyometrics, what are they? They're any activity where you jump and hop. Those type of things are plyometrics. And it may sound a bit weird that I'm saying you can use it for Achilles rehab, because anybody who's had Achilles tendinopathy and Achilles flare-up will tell you that any jumping, hopping, running type activities really can flare a tendon up. But that's why it's important to add it in at the right stage, and I'll get to that in a minute. So let's first look at why would you want to put that into the program. If we've spoken so much about heavy resistance is the way to go with exercise to get it to strengthen the Achilles tendon up and get you back to running and stuff. Well, because the research shows that for some people, heavy resistance training alone is not enough to restore the full function of the Achilles tendon. So you've got to remember that the Achilles works like a spring. It gets stretched and then it stores energy and then it releases that energy as it shortens again and it propels you forward. Now they can test how well your calf and Achilles complex works at the stretch shortening cycle. I can never say it properly. Stretch shortening cycle. Yes, I had to write it down. Through doing a series of hop tests and things. And what the researchers have found is that, lo and behold, there's a discrepancy between your uninjured leg and your injured leg when you have Achilles tendinopathy. And that makes sense, because when we've got a tendinopathy, we know that the tendon becomes a little bit softer. It's not as stiff as before, so it can't return the energy as well. But now, interestingly as well, there's another study that came out a while back, actually quite a while back, 2007 I think already, which showed that even when people have gone successfully through a rehab program, they have no symptoms and they're back to their full sport, when they retest how well that calf tendon complex works, not everybody has regained full function of that stretch shortening cycle. So it's not that Achilles is not yet working as effectively as the other side. They're not quite sure what causes that. So that can be a control issue, but it can also be the tendon properties and things that affects it. So we've got to keep that in mind. Also, we can't say that that applies to everyone with Achilles tendinopathy, because it wasn't everybody in the study that showed that, and it was rather a small study. So it's still got to be reproduced on a larger scale for us to really tell us more about that. But what it does mean is that if you're not recovering as well as you want or should, and you've got high volumes of running in there, you've got your strength training up to a really decent level, but it still remains niggly, then maybe it's time to start adding in some plyometric training. And with that in mind, a group of researchers has done a very small study at this point, because they just wanted to see the feasibility about the study, and it's not a randomized controlled trial, so we can't say that the plyometrics was more effective than anything else. But what they did was they wanted to see if they do plyometric training as part of Achilles rehab. One, is it effective? Are the patients happy to do it? Two, do they see any adverse effects? And some of the other things they were looking at was, does it actually restore how well the Achilles functions with the calf complex? And what they found is really encouraging, that in that first, it was very safe, because people are often scared to jump and hop on an injured Achilles tendon, because, I mean, we all tell you that it's not that strong. But you know what? It's pretty robust if you've gone through the steps to get it to the point where you're ready for the hopping program. And that's the key. So they didn't really have any adverse effects in that group. Again, remember, small group though. The adverse effects came from people who did stuff they weren't supposed to do, like went back to football matches and things before they were ready and tore calf muscles. So not related to the training. What they also saw was, yes, it restored the function there, and the patients improved through 12 weeks of doing the program. So it shows that it is effective and that it is safe to do. But we can't say that it's more effective than any other program, okay? But how did they implement this? So yes, if you've got an acutely painful Achilles tendon and you start a hopping program when it's not ready for it, you will make your pain worse. So the first step is to make sure that the Achilles is robust enough and calmed down enough to actually handle the hops. So they used some tests. In their study, they wanted people to be able to do double leg hops and 20 double leg hops, 10 single leg hops without pain. And then they started the hopping program. But it was dovetailed with the strength training program. So they didn't do just the hopping program. They still had strength training in there as well. The second thing is that you can't just jump in and do really high load of jumping. You've got to ease into it. And that's also important because different people's exercise history would be different or varied. So you'd come with a different strength in your Achilles tendon already. That tendon needs to get used to this load. So it needs to slowly, like you built your strength training up, needs to build the hops and the jumps and things up. And you can do that through a variety of ways. You can make them double leg hops at the beginning, double leg hops where the knees bend a little bit. So it's not just the Achilles working. Migrating to ones where the knees are actually kept really still. So you're isolating to the Achilles. So now it's working harder. And then of course going on to single leg hops and also going forwards or backwards or things like that. So there are plenty of ways to play with that. What was the other thing? Oh yes, remember any plyometric exercise is a lot higher force than that it creates than any strength training exercises does. Even if you're doing heavy load, slow resistance strength training, the load and the force is different when you do plyometrics. So you can't do it every single day, and you shouldn't do it on the same day as you do your strength training, because otherwise you may overload things. So usually we add it in once, maybe twice, but mostly as one session in the week, so that there's enough recovery time. And especially if you're gonna, at that point, also be busy with a running program at the same time. So we've got strength training, we've got running, and now we're adding in plyometrics. You've got to really think about where you structure it in the week, that you don't cause overload through that. What was the other thing I wanted to say about that now? Came in and out of my head. Oh yes, I wouldn't add it in for everybody. And I haven't added it in for all my patients in the past. There are definitely a vast majority of my runners get back to running through just heavy slow resistance training and a slow return to running program. And that's enough for them. They do perfectly well. The higher level guys are the guys who are doing high volumes of training and their strength training to high volumes, and that Achilles remains niggly and is just not reacting. They are the guys that we definitely will add in plyometric training for. And then of course, if your sport involves a lot of plyometrics, like you're doing basketball or you're doing anything where you have to jump or you have to be explosive, then you have to retrain that bit. So they will always get hopping and jumping programs in theirs as well. Okay, so I hope that's given you a few ideas. But the take-home message is hopping and jumping is absolutely fine if you put it in at the right stage of your treatment program. It could really help guys who are stuck with their rehab that's just not moving forwards. But you have to tick the boxes of, are you actually doing the heavy resistance and things properly as well? And then thirdly, not everybody needs it. Not everybody will benefit from it. So it needs to be right for you. Now, let me know if you've got any questions. And if you need more help with your injury, you can always consult one of us via video call. The link to the website is in the description of this video. Take care.